Turn me up, turn me up.
Yep.
What's happening?
Turn me up.
Welcome to Religiously Incorrect Podcast. Hope y'all are doing well.
Is that the remix?
He's just listening. He's just listening to us. He's got the bootleg version.
Well, I ain't know. Okay. All right. Cool.
You know he's live. What's up, y'all?
What's happening, everybody?
How y'all doing? Well, this is Sunday night service.
Yes, sir.
Anniversary edition,
Mm-hmm.
which means that somebody has had a church anniversary.
Yes, sir.
And we had one of them long weekends. But it was a good weekend.
Great weekend.
It was a good weekend. But here we are at Religiously Incorrect Podcast. Sponsored by
High Street Fitness and Mike Phillips.
Phillips Care Fitness, High Street Fitness. He got like 3 different brands going on.
Don't matter. Hey, all I know is he built and he'll get you there.
Exactly.
That's all I know.
He'll get you there.
Go check him out over there on High Street in Cortland, Ohio. It's wintertime. You need to get right. I need to get right. I need to get over there ASAP. But
Jeff is calling y'all fat and sloppy. If you don't,
y'all know. You know if you fat and sloppy. You know if you got to put your belt on and you got to make an extra knot in that belt. You got to make your own hole in the belt.
Now, that's for skinny dudes. That's for skinny dudes. We got to wrap the belt around twice.
No, but we got to do it. We got to do it on the outside.
You got to add one on the end.
Yeah, you know if you got a hula hoop with the equator.
Right. That's hilarious.
If I tried to drive around you and ran out of gas. He
going back to his Youngstown days. He going back to his Youngstown days.
If you walk past the TV and I missed a whole episode.
It's time to work out. It's time to work out. The credits are rolling. Man, how y'all doing? What's up, Rashad? Come on in, say hi. If you're watching, if you can see us and hear us, make sure you comment and say what's up. Hey, shout out to all the lurkers out there. We love you too.
Yes, sir.
All the bishops and the apostles.
We got much love for you.
We love you, man. So we did have our church anniversary this week, and I might as well follow up since we interviewed Pastor JJ last week. My man did a dynamic job.
And that brother there.
On Friday night.
That brother
Elder
there.
Carter, JJ Harrison blew Second Baptist apart.
That brother. Hey, and his backup singers is
every one of his backup singers.
My God.
Were dynamic. And you know what? And I hear this every time I have a major artist or we hear a major artist and we hear their background singers. Anybody who works in music or singing should be humbled that, hey, you are dynamic and you are wonderful and there's no limit to the potential you might have. But to be honest, great talent and gifting is everywhere.
Yes, it is.
And, he was amazing. They were amazing. The community came out big time.
Heck, Janice was amazing. Oh, my God.
Was amazing.
She is phenomenal.
Everyone actually did well. I mean, the choir did well. Good old Second Baptist did well. Pastor Ringgold and Shalom and the church did well. So I just want to share some lessons learned from anniversary and just from the event.
The first lesson I want to share with you is you got to get my car washed because I had to get my tires muddy. That's the first lesson.
Where would you park?
I was parked across the street in that grass.
Well, what happened to the VIP parking I had set aside for you?
The devil is a liar.
He was late.
What's his name? Hey, I was like, look, man, these brand new tires here. You know what I mean?
It's brand new grass. It's some brand new rain with some brand new mud. So, first thing I learned is, and this is obviously specific to our church, we can pull off a nice concert within our church. Mm-hmm. And it does save us a lot of, a lot of overhead and headache. Because it's just something about being in your own building. And as I was saying to someone beforehand, that though it might be tighter in certain respects, it's actually more familiar. I said to someone, it's like being at grandma's house. Mm-hmm. And something I would encourage a lot of churches to do is, I think because there's more openness these days and there's more sharing and, there might be larger churches who allow you to use their buildings. And we have been blessed. I want to shout out First Assembly of God, who has allowed us and others to use their building for larger events. I would just say, as a learning experience over the last few years, don't rush to do it unless you absolutely have to.
Right.
Because there's just nothing like being at home. It's like grandma's house. It might be tighter and a little older or whatever, but it's yours.
Right.
And you feel comfortable. And one thing I can tell you is that church felt more like church.
Right.
In the church.
Absolutely.
And whether you're at a theater type venue or even some of our more modern spaces that are not really built like the Black churches are normally built and function, and it's just a feel.
You can have your altar calls.
You can
have,
you know, can fall out on the altar. Yeah, you can pull the oil.
It's something about it. It's something about, you know, looking and seeing the stained glass windows, and you know what I mean. It's just it's something nostalgic about it.
There's a beauty to it. Yes. You know, there's definitely a beauty to it. Second thing I learned, and this is the lesson for me and for every other person, is don't overthink it. I had a glitch, and I meant to say it on Sunday. I'll have to make sure I say it next week. We had a glitch during the stream. For those of you that had to watch on the stream, we had a glitch. And the glitch happened because I overthought something and added a little complication to what we normally do. And that created a glitch that popped up right after Pastor JJ got on. And luckily, thankfully, we were able to get it back on, get the stream back on part 2, and everybody tuned in. But, you know, you can't help but kick yourself because you had a near perfect experience. And obviously, you know me, I'm always fighting for perfection. And that was an issue. Third thing I would say is, no matter what your event is, whether it's paid or free, you still have to market and strive to appeal to a broad audience.
Right.
And sometimes people aren't always looking for the most elite. They often want people they can connect with. And sometimes we can overwhelm an audience, an unsuspecting audience with what we like. And I was very grateful for the mixture that we had. I mean, we had a local church worship team. Hey, Pastor Kid, we had our house choir sing, and we had Sister Janice Jones sing. And I didn't have to bring a bunch of hoopla from the outside before the main artist. We were able to use homegrown talent. And honestly, people appreciate that because they want to come and see and hear their own.
Absolutely.
That's free game for all my pastors and people out there that are doing big events. And when you bring somebody,
can I just add something to it? I think, you know, we also have to be very cautious and careful. And I think you've done a phenomenal job with getting your MC. If you're not going to MC your own event, Pastor Barnes was phenomenal.
Shout out, Pastor Barnes.
He was absolutely phenomenal. You know, and you know, it's a singing event. You know, just have somebody after the song is over
who knows how to flow,
who can just flow. You know, after once they get to grab the mic, they can flow and continue in that flow and make sure that it continues to run smoothly. I think you got to have that. You know, just because somebody might be energetic does not mean that they're a good MC.
Thank you. And that's another part, is that the energy also has to come with an excellence, and it has to come with a awareness that you are reaching a cross section of people, that every segment can't be a revival.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he did a great job of balancing that. Wonderful, brother. I mean, we have kindred spirits and hearts. And of course, I want to thank Pastor Kent Barnes for being our MC, you know, all the sponsors. And so I was just grateful, and I'm already looking forward to next year.
Right.
And I'm already looking forward to what we can do next year. And you know, the elephant in the room around here was that there were like 3 different events going on between Youngstown and Warren in the same evening. And there, you know, that's just a reality that happened.
But
so
all 3 of them seem to have done pretty good.
I think
that's one thing we have to stop, you know, and I think it's great. It's smart to try to, you know, get everybody's calendar, but everybody's calendar is not going to line up.
It's not going to happen.
You know, and so I think there are enough people in the city, in both cities, that, you know, everybody's thing was good. And so I'm happy for that. I'm happy that everybody had a great weekend.
Yeah. And you know, the only side I say to that is that I hate that people have to choose.
Yeah.
I hate that people have to choose. You know, obviously, if you go to a church, you have friends or whatever you're going to support, you know, and, you know, you could feel that a little bit on, you know, regret, like, man, I wish I could be here or there.
Right.
I have a thing about being a pastor. And I think if you're going to be a pastor, which being a pastor means you are something of a low key promoter.
Right.
whether it's your church, even just your Sunday morning services. Come on, who talks about inviting people to come to church more than the pastor? If there ain't one thing that Facebook hasn't done, it's turned every pastor into a promoter. We all got our graphics.
Yep.
You know, we know good and well we're basically talking to the same group of people, and the same common people are going to come. But what I would say is that with being that figure, with being that person in the community, there is a certain awareness and finesse you have to bring to this.
Right.
And I think you should, as much as you can, know what's going on so that you can avoid conflict where you might. And I unapologetically, because this is religiously incorrect, so I might as well be incorrect for a minute. You know, I know what it's like to know that someone else was doing something. And before I even got in the planning stage, because I was aware, I either made the shift myself or spoke to them before I got locked in. Right. You know, and I made a mention earlier that our dear friend who was a guest on our show, Bishop David Heron, they've had their convocation, you know, every year. And I've gone and he's made me a part of it. And I would never just be oblivious to that when the end of July comes. Right. And be like, oh, my bad, Doc. I ain't know that you invited me to preach the last 3 years at your, you know, and then, you know, make people choose. I just won't do that. But again, it comes with awareness, which is another reason why you can't afford to live in your bubble. Yes. And by the way, social media helps to create bubbles because all you see is what you're doing and the people you like are doing. Right. You got to stay aware. And that's an intentionality on us. Any good promoter who's doing rock, rap, or whatever, they are checking the market out. Absolutely. Even if it's self-serving, you're checking that market out to make sure that the ticket buyers or whoever are going to be there. I mean, the way Black Panther came out was strategic. It didn't come the week after Captain Marvel. Right. They strategically plan these things out and episodes out. And so you definitely have to be strategic in what you do. And I said every pastor in every church, I've learned a great deal from the secular world. You know, I pay attention to how the Packard Music Halls of the world and the JACs and the larger, even smaller venues, how they function, how they promote, what tools they use. You know, you don't get Gladys Knight and the Pips at Packard Music Hall in October and then Patti LaBelle in November. They space that out. You know, they're doing Gladys Knight in October, then they're doing Leonard Skinner in, you know, November, and then they're doing Pentatonics or whoever in December. Then they come back around again. And so I think the church has to learn from that. And I'll just say, because of social media, saying I wasn't aware is no excuse anymore. I mean, come on. Got you. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. You know, saying I wasn't aware, and, you know, we're a new generation, but I think that everybody has something good. My wife had she said, between all these concerts and Black Panther, every Black person has somewhere to go. No Black person should have been at home. No, not this weekend. No Black person should be at home this weekend. But the weekend's over. And hey, y'all, Pastor Suge Knight did well, man. Our good friend, Bishop Paramore. You called him Suge? It's going to stick. Hey, y'all, if you didn't get a chance to watch, man, it was dynamic. I mean, dude preached, sang. He did a James Brown split. He jumped off the pulpit, did a backflip. Nah, but he did a wonderful job. That's my bishop, and he is phenomenal. Yes, sir. It represented, lifted well. Pastor Parner is doing Shirley Caesar and Wu-Tang back to back. Man, I've been bouncing around Shirley for a couple of years now, man. We're going to get Leandra over here. She only got one song. Man, she going to smoke a cigarette and drink some Henny and do like, do you see that video of what's my boy, Nobody, Keep Sweat? Yeah. You see him up there? And he was tore up. He was tore up, man. He's like, I'm in this point in my career where I just don't care anymore. I just don't care. But hey, y'all know what time it is. Make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you tag somebody, tell them to tap in. Tonight's show is called The Color Purple. But before we get to our subject, it's time for the meme of the week. Meme of the week. Meme of the week. Welcome to Religiously Incorrect, ladies and gentlemen. Meme of the week. Meme of the week. We thank you. Send us your memes of the week. Meme of the week. Meme of the week. We are. These are all jokes. We are just playing. All right, what we got? All God has done for you, and you still complaining? Listen. Go on ahead, baby evangelist. Mike said our sons picked this one out.
Why you look like you look like Stephen A?
You look like Stephen A. Stephen A.
LeBron, you are garbage.
You are garbage. No, wait. First he starts off and says, "You are my friend.
Yeah,
we go way back. We were in the sandbox together, but you are trash. Trash." Listen, now if that isn't, now here's why I like the baby. Because this is the most basic praise exhortation in any context. You ought to give God praise after all God has done for you.
All God's done for you.
After all, when I think of the goodness of Jesus.
He woke you up this morning.
Changed my diapers. Gave me some fish sticks.
Hands in the air. Activity your limbs.
Right.
And your right mind.
On my rash. Sucked out my nose. Yes, he did. This baby got a testimony.
Yeah,
this baby got a testimony.
What is he eating? Is them cheese sticks?
Baby, that good Similac.
What do you got there? My goodness.
I love it. We need to let our boys pick out more of these memes of the week. Well, I forgot to tell y'all. If you have a meme, send it to religiouslyincorrectpodcast@gmail.com. Inbox us on one of our platforms.
Not y'all cussing memes.
Yeah, not them cussing ones. Yeah, we don't need them. And please don't send us that one where it's a lady in a tight dress talking about, is this appropriate for church? We've seen that one 1,000 times, and the answer is no. All right, the answer is no. We get it. It's not appropriate for church.
It's appropriate for Todd's church.
It's appropriate. Only if you want to be.
The Bible says, "Come as you are."
Only if you want to be a church mother. Only if you want to be a church mother. All right. We want to thank our sponsors, the Phillips Care family of businesses, Phillips Care Cleaning Service, residential and commercial cleaning, deep cleaning, carpet upholstery, wood floor, move in, move out, maintenance. They do a little bit of everything. If it has to do with your building or your house, they can probably do it or find somebody who can.
I posted because I'm looking for somebody to put up
here it comes.
Mini blinds.
I saw that.
And somebody posted, if the Phillips Care, isn't this what they do?
Jeff is not loyal. These pastors ain't loyal.
They don't put up mini blinds.
Yeah, they do.
Well, they put up mini blinds.
Mini blinds, gutters, water heaters.
Vertical blinds.
Vertical blinds, yeah. And let me know, because I need to get that done myself. While we're at it, check out Phillips Care Lawn Service, which I think I'm just on the edge of calling them, because I've been doing these leaves for a month, and now it's just an excuse after excuse. So if you're like me, I'm definitely gonna have to call them. Don't even bother. My next door neighbor been blowing them back in my. He's just blowing them back. Hey, I see his whole line at the edge of my yard. Right, you can see the line where he. Hey, when Jeff walks in the house, the leaves come in with him. That's how many leaves he got at his front door. Absolutely. Call Phillips Care Lawn Services 330-219-7916, or look them up on Facebook at Phillips Care LLC. And then once again, we thank our sponsors for being our sponsors, and we always welcome more to be sponsors. Hey, the Action Office needs blinds. Right. I love it. Yes, I love it. And we need the parking lot cleaned. You need the parking lot cleaned too? So we got to get Care. Phillips Care. What's up, Barnes? Ken Barnes. Man, we appreciate you. Appreciate you so much. Innovation job, Life Church. Great job. He did excellent, man. He was in the back with JJ cussing though. They was back there. Yeah, they got there cussing, drinking and stuff. His vest was a little tight, but his vest was a little. You know we got to act up, Ken. Hey, you're looking good though, Doc. You're looking good, Bishop. Hey, I need my green folder back, by the way. I saw you up there using that folder for the agenda, man. I know you started at my office. I ain't seen that green folder since. I think it had some checks in it too. Hey, the way he done offering was smoother than the mug, though. Oh yeah, man. I said, my God, I know they be giving that innovation. Right. Like, I'm gonna get this money. He said, I'm gonna get this money. Did you hear him say lock the doors? I didn't hear him say that. He said, ushers, lock the doors. No, I'm joking. Don't let anybody out. All right, man. Jeff, the color purple. Color purple. Wait, we gotta do it. I love it. We are talking about the last. I may be black. I may be ugly, but I'm here. We're talking about purple as in red and blue. Yes, because we were trying to talk about Ohio, and Ohio was going to be our main focus because that's where we are based out of. But the fact of the matter is, the whole nation is purple because we did not see the red wave that we thought we were going to see. Now, Ohio, the moment of silence.
We done flipped.
All the way.
Flipped. And just if you don't know, that color purple basically means that you have the same amount, or as close to as possible, the same amount of people voting Democrat as you do Republican. And that's a purple state. And that's where, a lot of times the money gets dumped into those states.
Correct. That's where the money goes. The money goes to the purple.
Right. That's where the purple
swing means royalty. Yeah. So that's where the treasure's going. I mean, that's just, that's just what it means.
Yes,
that's what purple means.
Yes.
So here's my thing though. Ohio is a perfect example of this phenomena and where the state is purple in makeup as in registered voters and perspectives.
Absolutely.
But it's not in the results.
Right. Wow.
It's not in the results. And so how do we account for the fact that we have so many people speaking in a more even tone? You're hearing an opinion-wise equal sides, but when the last few election cycles, when you get the results to the ballot box, it is decidedly red.
Right.
What is your take on that?
I mean, I think one of the things we just watched Jamal Bryant, who said it's not so much. How do you say it? It was basically that we don't the low voter turnout.
Right.
It's voter turnout.
But he was saying that voter turnout is low, or is it high?
It's low.
Right.
It's low. We have low voter turnout. And I think we have far too many people in our community that just for whatever reason, refuse to vote. And so my question, Todd, was, is it based upon the low numbers in church? Because remember, church is where a lot of people used to get.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm asking because I don't know.
Well, let's talk about that because Pastor Kidd brought up gerrymandering. I want to touch it in a minute. I don't want to hit it now. I want to talk about that in a second because you cannot overlook that.
Absolutely.
And even on the national stage, they have been calling out Ohio for gerrymandering and the fact that we are voting under unconstitutional and unfair maps. So that is a fact. That is not our perspective.
And they changed lines.
That is over
and over again.
They changed lines, eliminated districts, and then did not proportionally redistribute those.
And
districts.
even a lot of the candidates don't even know where their lines are.
Right. But let me speak to the thing about the church. I made a comment, and I consistently make this comment as a part of a spiritual / social agenda of why people should attend church and come to church. And that is in the Black community in particular, it is a source of strength and connection for our people. And a part of that connection, and I'm sorry, I'm a little loose here on my mic. A part of that connection is the fact that we're able to come together, be around each other, share our agendas with each other, and coalesce our efforts together. And among other things, when we fail to do that around the one center we've always had, which is the church, no other center has arisen. And we've said this before, and sometimes we say it kind of bitterly as pastors, like y'all think you're so much better out there, but you ain't built nothing else. But it's true. We have not had a true social movement built around rights, voting, political advocacy, and community improvement since we shied away from the Black church and the Black Lives Matter movement as we've known it. And I mean, in the purity of the ideal, not so much the organization, it appears to have already faded in many spaces and spots.
Absolutely.
And truth be told, people who were enemies of that movement were just waiting it out for the loud, voices to subside. But the church, as I've said before, we're not as connected as families. We're not as connected as community. We're not as built together, and we're not as coalesced in voting. And churches are, I think, some of them are saying the right thing, but we're saying it to far less people. We're not saying it. And we'll go ahead and put Elder Carter's comment up. I think a lot of churches are doing this, but you're preaching to the choir.
Right. And so we have, people like Simon, who is doing, he's going over and above.
Martin Luther Simon, I call him now.
He's going over and above. You have the Harrisons. You have, so many different organizations. You have the Souls to the Polls. You have all these different things, and we're still getting the low voter turnout. And so I think that we have to, and I think the churches have to do it, but I think every organization, I think every single organization, whether it be Action, whether it be the NAACP, all these different organizations, we've got to focus on, I think this needs to be an issue that is just taken over.
Well, let's go back to social media for a minute. When what I said earlier about social media and its strength, I'm disappointed that more pastors don't use social media where they have a far broader audience talk about, and maybe you don't want to be partisan, and that's understandable. But I've said this before, and I will give y'all some free game. And I probably shouldn't do this, but nobody who, would pick this up that's necessary. A part of the reason I get the support I get for the projects I do, like a Night of Hope concert, because I know folk think, where does he get that money from? I know you say it. And instead of asking me and coming to the source, you keep asking other people, and I don't know what's wrong with y'all that you won't just come ask me, because I tell you, but I'll give you free game. Because I promote what our community does as much as I promote what our church does in the community, as much as I promote our Sunday services, because I'm consistently visible, my voice means something.
Right.
But so many pastors, now that social media is for everybody, which we can have a whole other conversation about now that the pandemic is over, some churches need to get offline. But right now, if you're only using your page and your voice to say, watch my service.
Absolutely.
Tune in, come to my concert. Here's my flyer. And you're not speaking. And I'm sorry, some of these, the ones that some people who do, they're pathetic. They're just saying, please go vote. I'm just encouraging y'all to vote. No. Talk about what's at stake. Talk about what matters. Talk about why it should matter. Tag some people, and know that even as a pastor, you could be 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. You are probably interacting with nieces and nephews and people that just connected with you through their grandma or whatever, that will never, ever hear your voice. And let's just be honest. You keep saying the folk ain't coming back to church like that. And you're right. So why do you keep centering all of your services there? Why do you keep centering all of your messages there? If you know that only 25% of the folk came back, and they're the most dedicated folk that come back, then why in the world would you ever think that getting up in the pulpit on Sunday morning to that faithful few is actually, you're not really promoting voting. You're just talking to a bunch of people that already know what you're going to say. Well, what is the point? I know that I've got some. And second, I can count on people showing up, younger people who don't vote, need to vote, and need to be told why to vote. But I still use my platform outside of second and to talk about actual issues. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. And it really is an elephant in the room, because it's literally the political elephant in the room, is that some of the issues that are on the ballot are issues that pastors are uncomfortable talking about, but they don't understand the full ramifications of it, like abortion, like civil rights for gay marriages, different things like that. And we don't want to talk about that, but we don't understand the extension of those rights will eventually come for us if they're restricted.
And let's take it a little bit further, because yes, going on social media is good. And, but listen, you cannot just read the Bible. Get a paper.
Get a newspaper.
Go to a council meeting. Go down, see what's going on, because there's a lot more in our community. And if you start talking about these things, people will start coming. People will start listening to you, but you at least got to know what you're talking about.
You're right.
You at least have to be able to make some sense, and, have some type of legitimate argument on what you're talking about, and not just saying whatever or repeating or regurgitating what somebody else is saying, and you don't got no clue on what you're talking about.
Exactly. You don't have the data to back it up. And
joint action.
Yes, you need joint action because they know what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
They study the issues. But here's another issue. All of us who are leaders, all of us who are pastors, and just leaders in general, we all got a crew that listens to us and we listen to them.
Right.
And sometimes we think that that's the only people that matter. But what you just said about being informed, you should be informed enough to correct the misperceptions.
Yes.
Because you and your crew can be talking and agreeing with each other, and none of y'all make sense. None of y'all make sense. And you don't realize you don't make sense.
And when we're listening to you, we tell you.
We know you don't make sense.
The whole thing on Facebook, everybody's comment, none of it makes sense.
None of it makes sense. And you know what? And people in power know it doesn't. And I can tell you right now that people in power scroll through your comments and what you say and what you don't say. And they have determined that you're not a threat and you're not somebody worth calling. Here's something I will say, and I won't say which, but I'm on another board coming up. Mm-hmm. I was told so many times by most of my peers, Elder Carter, you got to calm down. You're threatening your position. People aren't going to respect you. I have yet, and there might be a couple things and people that, shied away. The next board I've agreed to be on in January, if what they said was right, I wouldn't be on it. Mm-hmm. If I was just radical, you got to remember that you might turn some people off by being outspoken, but there's a lot of people you'll turn on.
Yes.
Because even other individuals who might not always agree with you politically respect the fact that you're willing to speak out and say it, because they want someone who's going to do that thing in their space, even if it does create tension, because they're not afraid of it. We're the ones who are afraid of the tension of disagreement.
Right.
And that's a problem. And let's just talk about that in the church, Pastor Jeff, because we're afraid of the tension of disagreement. We refuse to wade into anything that could potentially be controversial, even if it is incredibly detrimental, or we try to find the softest ways to talk about it that do not produce real change. Absolutely.
And when you're afraid of disagreement, you don't get invited to the table.
That's it.
You just don't.
You just don't.
And if you are at the table, you're at the table and you want to be in the back room at the table. You don't even want to come into the living room with everybody else. Listen, say something. Speak your truth.
Even the people that hate you don't want you to be a yes man.
Yeah, nobody
Even the people that don't agree with you don't want you to be a yes man. Where is it?
As much, and Todd and I agree on 90% of things, but there's been times we disagree.
Don't agree. Yeah.
There's been times we don't get
scrapping outside and just leaves. Out in the leaves, and the leaves jump in on it.
Throw me that candy, Jeff.
Oh, this guy just asking
I'm
for
trying
candy.
to y'all smacking in my ear.
I was about to eat another one. You don't want me to eat another one? Okay.
Can y'all hear us smacking out there? I'm sorry, y'all.
Could. Because I still got some caramel in my tooth I'm trying to get out right now, because that's just the way it works. But, let's talk about the other side of the color purple. The church is more purple than it looks, and I mean the black church.
Absolutely.
The church is not as blue as you think you are. So as you think it is, and those of you who are like, what's going on? Trust me, there are people who are quietly listening to you push, and I'll just say it, Democratic agendas, and they might even be saying amen and nodding their heads at you, and they don't agree. They are staunchly pro-life.
And I think it's more and more
than you want to believe.
And I think whole churches now are going
old and young.
Yes.
By the way.
Yes.
And see, that's what, and see, that's the thing is, yes, there are a lot of things on the agenda, but sometimes people pick a thing, and that's what matters. So here's where nationwide, I was listening to a podcast, New York Times and the Wall Street Journal podcast, talking about where the Republicans did the worst. They did the worst where abortion was on the agenda, because people were afraid and they felt like it was going too far to the right. Mm-hmm. In places like Ohio, where there was no particular vote on abortion in particular, there was just Republicans able to sort of just speak their truth about the economy and crime and immigration, all that. That wasn't an issue. But in our black churches, we're assuming that everybody agrees with traditional Democratic positions that have been kind of flowing through the black church for the past 40, 45 years.
Right.
And everybody doesn't. And sometimes, can I just say it? You come off as arrogant by assuming
absolutely
that everybody agrees or should agree. Maybe people are worried about Social Security and they are worried about their health care, but they might strongly believe in pro-life without maybe fully understanding all the issues that might surround it and ramifications and the healthcare, details that might be involved, but they are, and you're putting them down. Or we get up and say, what have we been saying about evangelicals for the longest time? All y'all care about is gay marriage and abortion.
Yeah.
Well, what if there is a whole bunch of folk in your church that's what they really care about too?
Yes.
Now, are we willing to have that come to Jesus moment?
These are the conversations we need to have. These are the conversations that must be talked about. And I think not only I'm talking over the pulpit, It has to be talked about, and they need to know how you believe and what does the Bible say about this?
Listen,
how does the Bible look at these particular issues that are on the ballot? And if we're not going to talk about them, then we're not doing the people, nor ourselves, nor the vote any justice.
Right.
We're not. And so here's the one thing that I looked at, Pastor Todd, was that a lot of these Republicans, a lot of these red, have said openly that they believe it has changed and switched, particularly in Ohio, because of Trump, because of the nonchalant, not caring, how boisterous he was. And for me, and you tell me if I'm right, for me, Trump was or is to them what we thought Obama would be. What we thought Obama was going to come in here and say, yeah, you know what, especially in his last 4 years.
Almost like Jesus. We thought he was going to come in and destroy the kingdom and tear down the empire.
And here's the thing. Trump did it without any care, without any, and Obama has said it. Well, he may have done it. It was wrong. And, he might have been breaking the law and stuff, but he did it.
He had the privilege to do it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Obama would be a dead man.
Obama would be in jail.
He'd be a dead man. He wouldn't be in jail. He'd be dead.
Yes,
if he said he did the thing.
Absolutely.
So we have to live within those realities that there is a privilege. You want to know what right privilege is? It's Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
The privilege to say every callous, crass thing. Now, there is some turmoil in the party because most of his endorsed candidates in those challenging states lost. Yeah. And you're talking about what was supposed to be one of the worst economies in 40 years, a president with an approval rating in the 30s.
Right.
And we still, and I don't want to say we, but the Democrats still have the Senate.
Yes.
And the Congress is still competitive. And the Congress is actually still competitive. It's likely to go red, but it's not an agenda like they in previous years. They would literally win like 40 and 50 seats, flip. Right. This year, it's literally going to be like a maybe 10-seat flip. That's a failure. That's literally like losing. That's like if me and you went and played one-on-one with LeBron James and Steph Curry, and we managed to, score like 70 to 80 points, and they scored 90 points. They lost.
Yeah,
even though we hyped. We basically won at this point. But so that's where it's at. But the funny thing is, there is an apathy in the church, and there's this and I think it is a false ideal that it's not my job to push that hard. And I'll give my lead. I'll give my secret. If I'm ever asked to preach another Martin Luther King Day sermon, which please somebody ask for the preach Martin Luther King Day sermon. Anybody, I'll come. It will be called fine-tuning the drum major instinct. In other words, somebody has to start leading from the front again, and we have to learn to love and support the people who take on that challenge.
Woo. Listen, if y'all ask him, ask me, I'll preach his sermon. I'll preach that right now.
Somebody has to learn how to lead from the front again. We have to learn how to lead from the front again, because what we've done is we've decided that backroom conversations and personal strategies, and I do my best work from backstage, that has actually been killing our forward progress. Absolutely.
Because
the people who dislike us are feasting off your quiet considerations. They are feasting off the fact that you will never call them out publicly, but you will always meet with them gently, privately.
Come on.
They love that you're doing that. They love it that you have found nothing
and then even
to publicly complain about.
Even when you meet with them quietly, you answer quietly. If you're going to meet with them quietly, at least be yourself in the quietness. Listen. Tell them what you don't believe. Tell them what you don't like. And you sort of agree with them by your nonchalant attitude. You sort of agree with them by saying, "I'll meet with you privately," and They understand. They know that. They know the game.
Our Secretary of State, since we're talking about Ohio, has been to our church. Last couple of years, he came to our church. He presented himself as friendly and kind. I'm not saying he's a snake and he's a dirtbag, nothing like that. Mr. LaRose came to our church, spoke to us about the work he does, built some things. And I do believe there were some positive things that he built. But in the years since he first came to us and visited our church and got to know us, and I allowed him to greet our church, he has supported far-right agendas and policies. Mm-hmm. He's gone down to Georgia to campaign with Marjorie Taylor Greene. He has participated in the gerrymandered maps that were approved in Ohio, consistently saying that he knew they weren't fair, but he approved of them anyway. Wow. He has constantly bragged about how Ohio has the best system, while he only allows one drop box in every county, including heavily urban counties like Cuyahoga County and Hamilton County and, Franklin County, where there are masses of large groups of urban and poor people who can't get to one centralized location. And I called him out on the same Twitter feed and the same Facebook feed where he was making all these comments about, the far right. And he called me. Well, let's have a conversation. No. If you talk about it publicly, I'm going to talk about it publicly. I am not going to have a private phone conversation with you while you are on here pushing right-wing agendas on your pages with thousands of people following you. And everybody might not have that demeanor. And yes, I do allow people to come and speak to our people. And by the way, stop this. I'm so pure and so holy that I don't let nobody in my. You let a lot of junk that's not Jesus in your pulpit all the time. You need to be on people's radar and stay on their radar and let them know that you're going to check them. And I told him, and I have no problem saying it on my podcast, hope him and his people tune in, I will not rock with you or stand with you on anything. Don't ask me for a photo op. Don't ask me to defend you, because there have been issues that have come up. Well, let them know that I'm, let's stand together. I'm not standing together with you because you have not stood with the rights of our people. Mm-hmm. I gave you a chance. How much more of a chance could I give you? Come to my church, say hello.
Yes.
Talk about Black business and voting and all of that. But when you went the direction you went, I have to say something just as publicly as I made that picture with you.
Yes.
It's just as publicly as I have to speak out when you've done the wrong thing.
Love it.
And that's what I feel like we have to do. It has not helped us to be silent dissenters. I don't agree, but I'll just pray on it.
People always say sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt. Nah, they'll kill us.
And here's why. Because that agenda is infiltrating our communities more and more. And honestly, the truth of the matter is there is no one political party that has all of our concerns fully at heart. And that's why you should be purple. Right. Make them come to you, not out of just loyalty, but out of necessity. Mm-hmm. This is what you can do for me. And all I ask is that you assure me that you're doing it with a pure heart and you're not just giving me a few concessions while you're still running around with folk with Confederate flags and individuals. But by the way, there are folk on both sides of the aisle that hate Black folk, whether you want to believe it or not. There are people on both sides of the aisle that hate Black folk, and the church should be prophetic.
Come on.
And stop telling me, y'all know January is coming. I'm going to say it more than once. Stop telling me that you respect Dr. King and all that he did for us, but you basically crap on the methodologies when somebody does it again today.
Come on, sir.
You don't need to be out there in front of people. You don't need to be out there marching. You don't need to be speaking out. Well, why the heck are we having this holiday then?
Come on.
Why are you having this service?
Yes, sir.
We're having it because somebody did it.
Yes.
That's what you're celebrating. Nobody would know who that man was if all he had was a couple quiet basement meetings with a few white politicians. None of us. So, we have to take on that prophetic spirit. And while we are so quick to speak life and destiny and waving swords and all this crazy stuff, we won't speak practical change.
Right. And I said it last year at the Martin Luther, we have to stop stepping around stuff.
Right.
We have to stop being scared to open up our mouths, stop being scared to talk to these people in power, stop being scared to go downtown. And I don't care whether we got a Black mayor or white mayor. Right. I don't care who it is. If they're doing wrong, they're wrong.
Right.
And if we're not gonna stand up, why are we even in the positions that we're in?
I've been told more than once, Pastor, you came down here with a request, or you came down here with an agenda about something, and they've said if 15 of y'all would have came down here, it would have been an easy yes.
Wow.
We couldn't have said no.
Wow.
We could not have said no. Thank you, Pastor Harrison. We need to be prophetic instead of pathetic. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. So here we are, Pastor Jeff. We are, as the church, at a crossroads, and Pastor Jamal Harrison Bryant, who I'm determined, I'll say it publicly, to bring him this way in some kind of way.
Yes.
He said it as a correspondent on the BBC. He says the reason that there are so many new voter restriction laws being passed, so many suppressive laws being passed, is not because of voter fraud. It's because of voter participation. And because of the voter participation of Black people. And whether you see it personally or not, the numbers don't lie. And that's where we jump back to what Pastor Kidd said. There are real structural and systemic tactics that are affecting our churches. And I worry that we are sometimes not really watching out for the things like the gerrymandering, not really watching out for the things like the redistricting, not watching out for the things like, and speaking to it, but also not challenging our people, young and old, especially young people, getting out in the street where they are and telling them that if you can go out and apply for a PPP loan, fraudulently, yes. If you can go do that, then you can coalesce your efforts together, because there's far more tens and hundreds of millions of dollars at stake by how we vote than what came through your PPP loan, to be honest. What came through PPP loans to the city of Warren and other communities pales in comparison to the federal funds that come every year and that would come to our community. But we have to tell the people, this is what we have to do, and we have to do it together. Go ahead, Big Mike.
You're speaking about the younger people voting. I think, one, the younger people need educated on politics. For one, younger people don't watch the news, so they really don't know what's going on. And two, if they do watch the news, they see all the games and all the garbage and, you know, all that's going on, it turns them off.
Right.
So how do we educate the younger people on the issues and what's really going on? Because right now, all they're doing is reading Facebook posts.
Correct.
And that's not good.
Well, a couple of things. For one, like you just said, all they do is read Facebook posts. You just said it, that we're not on Facebook. You know,
we're not on
Facebook providing that information or that real information, that truth. Once again, we're not in the schools.
Correct.
We're not going to the schools. We need to be in these schools.
Not just how you doing, Johnny.
Right.
Are you being a good boy today? Please stop fighting. I want to be your mentor. I mean, that's nice.
Yeah, it's cute. So we need
Johnny's
to be
still going to jail. Sorry, Pastor. Johnny's still going to jail. He's still slanging rocks. Sorry, Dante. We praying for Johnny. But he needs more than just that. He does need mentorship. He does need intervention, but he also needs to be taught.
Yes. Like Pastor Harrison just said it, through building relationships, you know, and having these conversations, you know, stop trying to Bible beat people. And they need the Bible. Yes, they need Jesus, but they also need realistic life goals. And how do we talk to these people? How do we talk to these young kids about gerrymandering? If you ask most of them, they have no idea what gerrymandering means.
Most folks don't know what it means.
That's my point.
They don't know what it means.
That's my point.
But let me speak to this real quick, Mike, because I do want to dive into religiously incorrect and say, how can we reach young people? Here's the fact of the matter, and I've been saying this for a while, and it does frustrate me because it comes around. Whenever people have a strong agenda that they want to make improvement in the community, and they're not church people, they're not pastors. Some of them are sick of us being the voices and being the ones who get all the attention. I have on more than one occasion said, hey, brother, hey, sister soldier, whoever you are, you know, want to be Malcolm X, I'll open up my church and my building to you because you can reach these people better than I can. And here's something I've seen, and I'm going to talk about it. There are people who are outside of our traditional mechanisms of positions and pastors and churches. And all they're doing when they do get a little bit of fire is try to recreate what we're doing the same way. Yes. Instead of building a movement that only they could build outside of what we're doing so that those two things can walk together. I don't mean to be bad. We don't need more banquets. We don't need more churches. We don't need more prayer meetings. We don't need more sister talk. All these sister talk brunches. There's religiously incorrect, so y'all can be mad later. We don't need no more, these empowerment breakfasts and business. No. If you can grab folk that would never walk in churches in traditional spaces, and I'll grab them and start educating them, but you have to be educated too. But do that. Use that energy. Don't give another. I'm about to get in trouble. Don't just keep regurgitating what we're doing. Right. Give them more white folk banquet money so that we all can come together and have another day. It's great to have dinner. It's great to dress up. You just went to one. Congratulations, Pastor Jeff, by the way. But There are some people who can really touch the hood in ways that pastors can't. We need you to step into that space and don't look for the camera. Right. And what Dante just said, Elder Dante said, we need to have an informed strategic political agenda. Here's the thing. They exist.
They do.
And we won't coalesce behind the individual or individuals who can present it. And I said this to, who was I talking to? Well, I was saying it to two brothers at my church recently, because especially in the pastoral space, every pastor is told basically inherently that they're the man.
Right.
You have to be willing to not be the man.
Come on, sir.
But be the full man of support behind the one who is the man.
Right.
Or it will never happen. And as long as we have these 5 and 6 different directions going on, and we won't say Jeff Stanford is the one who's got the voice, he's got the fire, he's got the knowledge, he's got the connections. Let's build an army behind him. No, my folks say I'm the man. So I'm going to get up and talk about 2 or 3 things instead of actually getting behind those 1 or 2 things that could really push us forward.
Absolutely. When you watch that movie, Malcolm X, when he went down to the...
we demand to see Brother Johnson.
Yeah, when they went down... If he'd been down there by himself,
by the way, Brother Johnson was my uncle, by the way.
If he's down there by himself, it wouldn't have been that, it was because everybody was willing to get behind the man.
All of them couldn't walk in there and start talking at the same time.
That's it.
You stand outside and be quiet and look dangerous.
Look mean.
That's what I'm saying. I mean this with all my heart.
I mean, we've said that.
Black pastors, we need you to show up. Next time Pastor Stanford has a speech to make in city council, come in there and just look mean. That can do so much more than you can. That's for real.
Absolutely.
That is real talk. If you can bring them in. Pastor Edgar Fisher did this once when I was a teenager at this time. He told the politicians in Warren one time, I'm not coming to your meeting. You're coming to my church, in my church basement. And when they got there were about 20, 25 black preachers in that room. And he said, this is what we want.
Yes.
This is what we want. So yes. I mean this seriously. The agenda is there. We know exactly what needs to happen. We know exactly. I don't care if it's ARP funds. I don't care if it's federal funds. You can demand a portion of that funding, of that support. But what happens is you got to let somebody be the voice, and everybody else can't go hide under a rock somewhere.
Come on.
And then
quietly supporting.
And then see you at the grocery store because I've lived it.
I support you. I love what you're doing down there.
You ain't gonna see me out there because I'm a background guy, and I do my best work in the background. No, you go home, go to sleep, and watch TV. That's what you're doing.
You are not a background guy. You're an invisible guy.
Right.
You are invisible. Nobody sees you. Nobody hears you. Nobody stop.
But we need a long-term agenda. And I'm glad what Dante said. Put what Dante said up at the beginning is that if we don't, we're forever stuck making decisions off of mailers and election cycle issues.
Wow.
And here's the thing. Truth of the matter is, the Republicans knew that Donald Trump was not a moral person. They knew that brother probably got abortions like Herschel Walker did.
Yep. That's what I was about to say. They just like they know who Herschel Walker is.
They knew that if they got behind him, he would give them what they wanted.
Yep. That's it.
He would give them. And can I say something? This might sound, this would be definitely unpastoral. Sometimes Democrats, and by extension, church folk who identify with Democrats, sometimes they are too moral to a fault.
Come on.
Almost to the point of pettiness. That if Herschel Walker was our candidate, we would have abandoned him.
Absolutely.
But, and I'm not saying it's right, but they will push forward. Basically, I can't even say somebody dumb as a rock because he is dumb as a rock. They would push forward somebody like that because they want to get it done. How bad do we really want to get it done? I'm not saying make a deal with the devil.
I love it. Yes.
I'm not saying make a deal with the devil. I'm saying how bad do you want to get it done? Because we have allowed morality. Remember people like Al Franken? I don't know if you remember him. He was a Saturday Night Live guy, and he was accused of talking to a woman or being inappropriate. They put him out. Democrats, but he was a Democrat senator. They put him out. They basically participate and put him out. You won't find a Republican doing that. They're out here,
sticking together.
They want
that seat.
And people have said that. I don't care if Herschel Walker go out and have 5 more abortions. Somebody said, I don't care if he kills a dog.
They want that.
We want that seat.
They want that seat.
And they know he's going to vote their way.
They know he's going to vote their way.
Anytime. So, I mean, when are we going to do that?
So here's my question for the room. Should our sense of morality and standards put us in a place where we're willing to consistently lose as long as we lose with dignity.
Wow.
Should we? Because we're doing it
with dignity.
As long as we lose with dignity, funding going from our schools, rolling back voting rights. They're about to vote out. Or rule out affirmative action.
But at least I was. You know what the biggest story here in Ohio was with this election gone? Tim Ryan's concession speech.
How nice.
He lost with dignity.
But you lost, Doc. I like them football players that start scrapping at the end of the game when they about to lose.
My wife always said,
listen.
My wife will say it in a minute. If you can't win, fight. If you can't win, fight.
Go for the knee, Doc.
But what was he supposed to say though? What he's supposed to do like Donald Trump?
No, you know what? Hey,
and all that.
Hey, but you know what? But that's what I'm saying. But no. I won't say the word. But he was calling him an egg kisser the whole campaign. Why are you turning to Mr. Dignity now?
Right.
Stay Mr. Tough Guy.
Right.
Stay Mr. Tough Guy. You got to give it to Trump. He was cracking on folk while he was leaving the Oval Office. Like Joe Biden is still old. Y'all whack.
Taking boxes of stuff with him too.
Kamala's a gorilla. He don't care.
That's it.
I'm just saying, how much should our personal morality? I'm asking because we're losing being on the right side of things. I did the right. I'm proud. I am proud of Vinny doing it the right way. But I wouldn't have been mad if some angry mailers would have went out against the other guy.
Absolutely.
And it swayed it. So maybe that's the big argument of that's why the church shouldn't be in politics, because you might have to get ugly to get your way. Well, do I see myself making some deals with some people? Probably. Go ahead, Big Mike.
I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. The separation of church and state.
It doesn't exist.
It never
exists.
It only exists for Black people who are afraid to.
I just wanted to throw that.
They got on with Herschel Walker. What Jamal Bryant said about Herschel Walker. They hold whole political rallies in evangelical churches. Literally, the Ted Cruz's of the world,
right?
The Ron DeSantis's of the world. Herschel Walker, they have whole prayer meetings with candidates and rallies where they sing God Bless America and Amazing Grace, and then they bring out the prophetic sword and lay it on their shoulders and do all this stuff and say that they're God. They just had a whole prayer meeting literally in a stadium where they were doing all that weird stuff, like let's strike the ground and trouble the waters for the sake of the election. That's what they do. You know what we do? There's an election coming up, and we want you all to vote your conscience. I won't tell you who to vote for because that's not my place. That's what we do. That's what we get up in pulpits and say. I've been in churches where I'm in Warren, bro, running for office, and y'all my cousins. And they will get up like, hey, brother, I can't say your name publicly, but stand up. These folk know me. Just tell them to vote for me.
Hey, I did.
Just whatever. But I'm saying that's a small example right here in Warren, but it goes to how we are on this tip where evangelicals, even Catholics, different ones, they say this is what we believe in, and sometimes this is who we believe in.
That's right.
This is who will get us. This is who said they will give us what we want.
And they'll even go as far as to say this is who God wants in office. This is who God wants in office. So I ain't gonna go that far, but I will say who I want.
I go that far. You know why? Because y'all claim a bunch of preachers of what God wants, and they ain't. This is who God wants to be our pastor. This is who God. No, it ain't. You lying. So why not a politician? You lying about everybody else, all them deacons and associates you keep calling.
I'm about to mute you in a minute.
Go ahead.
But you get in trouble.
Right.
I'm playing.
Yeah. But feedback. What do we need to shift in strategy? I saw Sister Jeanette say something. Let's bring her up. Let us consider the ages of the constituency and what's important to them, according to the older folk that go to church, and maybe getting direct info to direct them. I'll be honest. For younger people, it's about dollars and cents.
It is.
And we don't talk enough about dollars and cents. We don't talk enough about flat money. PPP was so easy.
Yeah.
A couple people got a hold of that application. They said, oh, all you got to do is X, Y, Z.
And it's on.
What they don't know is that it might be a few more pages, but there is hundreds of millions and billions of more dollars out there on the same line as people. And somebody gets it. Honestly, some of these folk about to get in trouble, opening up different businesses for tax write-offs and grants, and people get in the medical field with Medicaid and Medicare because they know the direct automatic payments. People that get into preschools, and I'm not saying they're doing it fraudulently. I'm saying they know the money's there. They know what has to be spent.
If this was a real TV show, we would need a commercial break right now. I've been holding for like. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. We'll excuse Pastor Jeff for a minute. Go ahead, Todd.
Go ahead, PP McStanford over here.
Hey,
go ahead.
Somebody was telling me that on those PPP loans, it's like a 600% interest rate or something crazy like that.
That's technically APY. Like, it's not actually 600%. That's what it balances out to if you take it out the whole way. But what I'm saying is, Sister McFadden is absolutely right. The concerns, and here's the funny thing. We started out by saying vote because your grandma voted and fought for you. Now we're saying vote for your Social Security and grandma. So you want grandma to get insulin, right? These folks are stealing their grandma's medications. Right. They stealing grandma's Vicodins. All right, to be true, they selling grandma's perks online, right? But again, dollars and cents, and we are afraid to talk about money because I'm involved in some things where I've requested funds. And that's why people don't get money, because they're afraid to ask for money. They're afraid to say, I want the money. What do you want? Financial support. That's what I want.
Right.
So if you bring it down to dollars and cents, because here was the meme that was out at the end of Obama's term, is going into the Trump era. Remember we had them pictures of the hood, and it would be the same picture under Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Trump. And they would say, what's changed? And so I believe fully, I have said it forever, I'll say it again. The churches have to radically restructure themselves to be strong enough to make demands. And if you're not doing that, you won't. Warren is a perfect example. I'll say it because I already got in trouble for it. As long as you got 40 churches with 10 people each in them trying to say something and they're never quite united themselves, it will never happen. You can, and the only reason you even get some plays because Warren is a small town and they know you and you the mayor's cousin and all that, so he'll listen to you somewhat. Get some folk that don't care.
That's it.
Get some GOPers in here that don't care, and you will mean nothing to them. But if you have 15 churches with 200 people each in them, if you have 15 churches with 200 people in them, and those at least 10 of those pastors are all saying the same thing, and their votes depend on it, that will move things. Secondly, we have to be willing to speak plainly and unafraid to talk about the fact that it is money that makes the world go around and that brings improvement. And we have to propose and demand radical changes. We have to say, I have an idea. I've verbalized. We need to knock down a whole housing project and rebuild it. And you need to find the HUD funds to do it. We have 50 and 60 and 70-year-old public housing projects, and it's out there, but we're not pushing as hard. Somebody's getting a new development.
Come on.
How are we going to have a brand new development just down the street, 422 on your north side of Youngstown, that's barely 15 years old, that over there, I'm talking about, over by Union Baptist.
Yes.
Got a brand. How are you going to tell me that they could do that, but we can't do anything to that nature here? But you're not making the demand, and we're afraid of being money hungry, power hungry.
But that's you
need the money, you need the power to get the thing done.
You said it. In organizing, you have the ability. We are supposed to organize power, and we're supposed to organize money. Those two things are the common denominators. That's what we're doing. And to organize power is the ability to act. If we do not have the ability to act, if we're not coming together, if we're, like you said, if we don't got 12, 10, 5 pastors willing to go downtown and say, this is what we need. This is why, we need some senior citizen housing in our community. We need some livable, I don't like calling them projects. I
know what you mean. Public housing.
We need some livable public housing.
Correct.
We need to deal with this environmental issue we got going on. All these people living in houses that still got asbestos in it, but if we're not going to come together and say it, they're not just going to give it to us. They ain't just going to, dump funds into our community because they just feel like it.
The squeaky wheels really do get the grease.
Absolutely.
And we don't squeak loud enough and consistently enough. We don't.
Yes.
We don't. Showing up to somebody's banquet and shaking a few hands and taking a picture and being on somebody's Zoom call is not being a squeaky wheel. Absolutely. And we never bring a demand to the table.
You have to have an ask.
You have to
have a demand.
We don't have an ask. And the church, again, is afraid to ask. And so, thank you, Pastor Bowie. Black communities can't get a grocery store. And some believe, how can they affect larger change when they can't get simple change? So some remain silent. And I agree with that. And I've always said this. Even small victories are a victory.
Absolutely.
And so besides restructuring and being willing to make the ask, you have to create models. And I know this is basically action regurgitation, probably without the right terminology.
It's all good.
You have to create models of progressively larger victories.
Absolutely.
Starting with smaller victories.
Mm-hmm.
You might not get the full housing project, but can you get a block of newer homes built? Just a couple of houses built in a cul-de-sac or something, get an investor involved. You have to have and prove that it can work. I know this is about to be the action podcast.
But what you said is right.
Mike, you need to call action and get Rosetta to have an action podcast.
We need winnable actions.
That's correct.
Let's get a stop sign where a stop sign is supposed to be. Can we start there?
Right.
At halftime, we like Pastor Boyd said, we can't get a grocery store. We can't get a stop sign. So we have to, but if we ain't come together.
And can I poke at one more thing before we go? And that is, many pastors will say, well, I'm so busy. Our churches have so much going on. It's hard to fit all this in. Let me be honest. The fact that you are not actively engaging in things that will improve your community are why your churches are dying in spite of all that your churches have going on.
Absolutely.
You have all the concerts, all the anniversaries, and we allow, and this is something I try not to do. I don't tell myself that J.J. Hairston concert at my church means I have a successful church and we're making impact, because it's not.
Right.
It's not. If I don't get anybody to actually sign up for foster care, if that was the point of that concert, then I need to rethink my strategy.
Right.
Point blank, period. And so the fact of the matter is, because we don't have vibrancy and economic power and strength in our communities, our churches become weaker, and you can shout all you want. You can take all the titles you want. And you might not want to hear this, but you can talk about all the territorial spirits and you've cast out all the deep. You can do all of that and your people will still be poor and broke and disgusted. And you'll sit there and give yourself the drug of spiritual. And we're doing it more and more. Matter of fact, we do it. The more we lose real power in the real world, the more we act like God is doing something at the altar.
Yes,
the more we come up with more stranger things and more weirder things and more mechanisms to try to override. The Spirit of the Lord is really moving. The Spirit of the Lord is really moving. And we're still doing funerals for young black men killing each other.
And so, like you just said, we're losing black power, or we're losing power.
Which means you lose the black church.
Yeah, we're losing, and thank God he's still around. But the Sonnies of the world ain't going to be here. The Hortenses of the world ain't going to be here forever. The Fred Harrisons of the world ain't going to be here. The Simons of the world ain't. Who's going to step up? Who's going to step in? Who's going to say, you know what, this voters registration needs to be done?
Right.
We need to get out here. We need to mobilize.
Mr. Harrison would say voter registration, education, mobilization.
Right.
That's how he would say it. Registration, education, and mobilization. But again, it has to start with the heart. Like, how bad do you really want improvement for your community that is tangible in a way? And are you really willing to connect it to a kingdom agenda? And not just we sent up a praise. People are going to swear up and down that we sent something up that changed. No, I'll be honest, you didn't. And I might even get bashed for this, and people will get online and say little sides. You didn't. Because your neighborhoods are still poor, houses are still being knocked down. Our kids are still like, if all it took was praise, black folk would be the richest folk in the universe. Because nobody
praises more than us.
Church than us.
I said it at the last meeting we had, when we had the last meeting here, and I'm unashamedly gonna say it. They said, "Well, let's go downtown." Ain't nobody shooting downtown. Ain't a gun being shot downtown. Why are we praying downtown? I mean, I'm with praying, but come on, man.
Right.
Ain't nobody praying downtown. Ain't nobody shooting downtown. Ain't nobody getting robbed downtown.
Right. And I mean, so we have to know what the kingdom is, to embrace the agenda. That the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He's called me to preach the gospel to the poor, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to give sight to the blind. You know what that means? To educate people and allow them to see and realize what's really going on in this world. To, you know, and so I think that has to be a core for us. We have to actually be concerned. And I want our church, we still do church stuff. We're always going to do. I'm going to do my Good Baptist stuff. I'm going to be moderator. I'm going to do all of that. But at the end of the day, if the people down the street can't feel me, if they don't know I'm there in a real way, in a consistent way, and not just some, hey, look at me once a year.
Right.
You're going to see me every month. You're going to see me every time it's warm.
Walking outside.
You're going to, you know, and then when I come, and I'll be honest, and those of you who are frustrated with the church, I've said it before and I'll say it unapologetically. Don't stay mad at the church as a whole and who's not doing what. Maybe the church you were raised at, the church you go to, the person you call pastor, when there are good people right around the corner who are concerned about you and are doing more than making a 5-second statement on Sunday and are doing the work. You need to speak with, you know how you so quick to boycott Kanye and everybody else or white folk for or now you want to cancel white folk for canceling Kanye. You know, you want to do all that. We need to cancel some folk in our own community that ain't doing nothing.
Woo! Come on, sir.
We need to the next boycott don't need to be a bus boycott. It might need to be a church doing nothing boycott.
Come on. Woo,
and where will you put your real energy? Let them see. What I'm telling you, you want to put the church to action right now? You want to put the church to action right now? Of all the dumb stuff the church folk argue about, let 10 or 20 members say, Pastor, I will not tithe until you start doing and talking about things that concern our community.
Come on. Ooh.
While you willing to hold them hostage over carpet and style of music and all this
wasn't it you
stuff.
who told me that the pastor from, it wasn't this pastor, the current pastor, thank God for Shane up here, but came down and they said, Pastor, you ain't talking about,
you didn't talk about voting. A couple pastors.
You had a sermon. It was a nice sermon, but you ain't saying nothing about voting.
In the middle of an election. And the brother got up and said, go back up there and say it.
That's it.
But I mean, you want to affect change. I'm telling you, if you are a member of a church, you can love your pastor, your bishop, whoever it might be. You can love them. But if you are frustrated with what they don't and won't do, you got to speak with your feet and your wallet too.
Come on.
Welcome to Religiously Incorrect. You got to speak with your feet, because here's the thing. Until we start boycotting the people who either do wrong or do nothing, just like out in the streets, we need to boycott the dope dealers. Stop pretending that they're still good dudes because they passed out some turkeys.
Come on, sir.
We need to boycott the people who, thank you, Pastor Bowie, for mentioning the grocery stores, but we got to boycott the people that go in and are boosters and are robbing these stores and making them not want to be in our communities.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? It's like we're always going out there, but we got to start holding people accountable in here in real ways. And you know what? Just like money talks with Nike and Adidas, and we willing to threaten them over Kanye and Kyrie, why don't we start threatening people in our own community with our own real support, our wallets and our feet and our amens? Man. I bet you'll get some more socially conscious pastors then.
Woo! I
bet you.
Hey, we'll switch up the game real quick. You stop giving them tithes.
And I'm tired of folk coming to me quietly. I wish my pastor would. I wish you'd stop supporting the pastor who won't.
Well,
I wish you make. I bet you if he didn't make your little cousin a junior deacon, you lead a church over that.
Come on.
The stuff people left churches over and have quit pastors over.
Yes.
But not the stuff that really matters.
Come on.
That's my frustration.
I love it.
Don't be so, I'm so loyal. No, you ain't loyal. You ain't been there since he didn't call your name at the last anniversary. You ain't went back. That was enough for you. What about the real things that matter to our people? And I want to be held accountable if I'm not doing.
I love it.
Not just my preaching and my teaching and my loving and my visitation.
Your civic duty.
But my civic duty, knowing that I might be the last bastion of an open voice in a real way. When I'm in council now. I can count on my hand the number, outside of Pastor Robert Herron and Lady Linda Herron, I can count on my hand the number of times I've seen any other pastors besides yourself in those council chambers. And truth be told, our meetings are done before Bible study starts, because I go have Bible study after our meetings. And I'm actually on the council. So don't tell me you can't. Don't tell me.
I just told all of Action the other day. You was here. I told everybody, we all need to be at these council meetings. every single week.
Yep.
It don't matter.
Yep.
If you want to know what's going on in the community, that's where you're going to find out.
So I thank you, Jeanette, for what you said, because you made me rethink about how to reach out to younger people. And one of the things we have to do, and I can think of people in our community that I would like to give platform to. And what we have to do is, it's the week after the election, Pastor Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot wait until October of 2024, the week before the registration deadline is over, to start panicking.
Mm-mm.
And then the week before the election, souls to the polls. Souls to the polls.
Dinners.
Here's the funny thing. So the evangelicals, conservative white evangelicals and conservative black evangelicals, they don't do souls to the polls. They do souls to their churches.
Mm-hmm.
They do money to their campaigns.
Money to campaigns, that's right.
They do setting up candidates to run. They don't do souls to the polls. They don't have these flyers out here with a bunch of black, white fly in the face. Let's go vote. They don't do that because they're at it. Abortion, they did a special on, I think it was Jerry Falwell before he died. Abortion was a 40-year fight for them.
Wow.
A 40-year fight.
Wow.
Dante said it. It was the long game.
Mm-hmm.
They built whole think tanks, literally started colleges and schools and funded professors. People like somebody who was like a 19-year-old college student, they would literally fund his way all the way through to become a professor, to start writing the legal arguments so that 15, 20 years from now, he would be that guy that they could get behind. They cultivate these people. They're kingmakers. And we don't do it within our own community. We could own council in the city of Warren if we got a person in every ward. I took the first ward. You know what I'm saying? So there's power there, but you have to coalesce behind leadership, and leaders have to lead from the front.
I love it.
And the people behind them can't be shooting arrows at them.
Woo.
You want to know why nobody wants to lead? Can I be real honest? Because they see how y'all talk about me. Who would want to be the next Todd Johnson in Warren if they've heard all the nasty comments you made in the beauty salon and the barber shop and in the quiet preachers meetings and the text messages and the things that are said? If they know, I say it in church all the time, if you are that type of person who is always nasty and gossiping and talking about the deacon, the pastor, the leader, and I turn around and say, I think you could be a deacon. You know why your answer is no? Because you know how you talk about the people who were already there.
Yep.
And that's facts. That's facts.
You said
so that those young people, those newly, they hear how nasty you are towards the people who did step out and speak up. And they said, not me. I'm going to go make my change and my coins and stay out the way. That's facts.
Wow. That's religiously incorrect.
That's religiously incorrect.
My God.
Flip this table over. Man, thank y'all for watching this. This is our post-election episode, The Color Purple. You told Harpo to beat me.
This was one of the best episodes. I love this episode, Doc. This was good here.
Well, I said, as long as I have a concern for people, I'm going to be political because somebody else is. Hey, my sermons do not shape the reality they live in out there. Laws and policies do.
Right.
You know what we've learned how to do? Oh, this is real good. We've learned how to preach people how to cope with laws and policies we won't fight.
Come on.
Here's how to keep the faith while your kid is living in the dirt. Here's how to trust God while they cut your Social Security. Here's how to believe that the Lord's got a mansion for you in heaven while they are taking your retirement away and raising the retirement age to 78. Here's how to keep. Here's how God's gonna make a way.
Wow,
that's crazy. We're expecting God to make a way in places that He's already empowered us to make change.
Come on, man.
That's what we're doing. We're preaching to people on how God is gonna make a way in spaces where He's already empowered us.
This don't empower you
to make
change and to be better in your community, in your church, especially if you're a pastor. Even if you're not a pastor, like you said, putting your money and your feet and your pastor to the fire. Listen,
and you know what's sad? Any one of us could walk into another city and have an army behind us within 6 months. Go ahead, Big Mike. Shut us down.
Yeah, fellas, great episode. We
didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
You know, I'm gonna be honest. I was a little hesitant about doing politics because sometimes it gets redundant, but this was very good and much needed. To all the viewers out there, please share. Please share this episode. Let everybody know they can catch us on YouTube. They can also watch again on Facebook. And our audio will be downloaded probably tomorrow or Tuesday. So you can also, if you want to listen to it again on your way to work, check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, all of that. So please, please, please share this episode.
And listen, business owners, if you want to become a sponsor,
be a sponsor.
I know we don't talk about it a lot because we ain't begging for y'all money.
I want it now. I want PPP money. I want that PPP money.
But I know I got
a list of people that got money from the city. I got a list of people that's getting ARP funds. You need to put some of that towards sponsorships.
I know I got some business owners watching right now. If you want to be a sponsor, come on, y'all. Sponsor the show. If you think it's good and you like it and you think what we're talking about is legitimate and needs to be heard on a bigger platform, on a bigger scale, first of all, share it. Second of tag somebody. Third of all, sponsor us.
Let's just start doing offerings. Do we have a religiously
do we got a cash app? Do we got a cash app?
We about to have one.
I'm not trying to go through all that paper.
No, we're doing it. We're doing it.
We're gonna get a cash app.
Hey, it's Pastor Todd J. No. I mean, for real. I mean, if you want to support the messaging, let's make it happen. You know, we want to promote your brand. We want to build this brand. We want to be unapologetic about that.
Absolutely.
Pastor Jeff and I got some strong. And if you believe in us, our core group, our people that love us. And even you, my famous lurkers, the people that watch me, you tell me later on, like, I'll be watching y'all, but I don't say nothing. How y'all doing?
A lot of them. We got a lot of them.
Right.
Yes. We got a lot of them.
We need the agreement to come above water. We need the people that are firm to come to the surface.
Step out.
Step out, man.
Make a comment. Make a comment.
What's up? Religiously
They can't kill all of us, and if they do, we're going to heaven anyway. So I mean,
right.
Religiously incorrect at gmail.com. Hit us up on the email. I'll get back with you as soon as I can, as soon as possible.
All right, y'all. Take care. Until next time, Sunday morning service. God bless you.